Hey, welcome guys. Today we're going to be building my first ever YouTube channel PC build. And we're going to be pairing this all together with a RX 9070 XT, a 2 TB SSD from Samsung, a Asus motherboard, which is a B650, also with the awesome Ryzen 7 7800X3D, perfect for gaming. We're going to pair that up with a 360mm AIO cooler to keep those CPU temps nice and cool. We're going to be putting that all together with a 850-watt power supply, and then ending it with a 32 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM. All right, now that we got everything put aside, we're going to start off with prepping our motherboard. All right, now that we got that motherboard out of its wrapping, we're going to go ahead and put in our 7800X3D into the CPU socket. Open up the casing. Open up our 7800X3D. It's very easy to put these in because you have the little arrow that shows you exactly where you need to put it in. There's a little arrow here. Not too difficult. You're just going to go ahead and drop it right into the socket. Boom. Close it. Boom. And that CPU is now installed. Now that we got that CPU installed, now we got to install our SSD. First, we're going to start off by taking off this M.2 drive. We're going to go ahead and undo that right now. And on this motherboard, this M.2 drive already has a heatsink ready to go for your SSD. For M.2 drives, SSDs are pretty easy to install. You just line up this chipset with the port right here. You're just going to go in and slide it in. Now that we've got our SSD installed, we want to make sure that we remove this heatsink to help with cooling. Let's go ahead and take that little film off, and we're going to put this right back on where we got it from. According to this motherboard's instructions, if you're using 2 sticks of RAM, you want to put it in A2 and B2, which is the second and fourth slots. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. There's one. Now that our motherboard's for the majority set up, there's still one more thing we got to do, and that's put our AIO cooler bracket onto the motherboard. Most motherboards already come with a pre-installed bracket, but for this AIO cooler, we don't need these. So we're going to go ahead and remove these brackets already that are pre-installed. Now that we got the brackets removed from the motherboard, we're going to install the brackets and screws that came with the AIO cooler. Being that our motherboard is now fully prepped, we're going to go ahead and unbox our case and go ahead and get that motherboard installed into our Lian Li 207 case. It's funny because every build I've made so far has been a Lian Li case, and what's special about this case is it has a monitor down here at the bottom that you can program for your statistical data, which is your GPU temps, your CPU temps, anything that you need to monitor while you're putting this case under heavy loads. Another thing I love about this Lian Li 207 case is how easy it is to maintain it and clean it. As for example, you've got the front header fans that come off here. You got the top that comes off here. And then you flip it around, got easy access to the back here as well. Boom. You've got 90% of the case off for easy access within, what, 5 seconds? Right now I have the protective film on the front glass panel right now. We're going to go ahead and, with the top popped off already, we're going to go ahead and take off the front panel as well. It's an easy pop on and pop off. We're just going to go ahead and take off this panel so we can go ahead and install that motherboard. One important thing to note before you install your motherboard into your PC case is these standoffs. You want to make sure that these standoffs are positioned to where they line up with your motherboard, because if not, and you have a standoff that's positioned in a weird place, it can fry the back of your motherboard. Now that we know our standoffs match our motherboard, we're going to go ahead and nicely place this in there and match it up with our standoffs. I don't know about other cases, but every Leon Lee case I've messed with has came with a box that comes with every screw you would need for the motherboard to screw in your motherboard into those standoffs. Now that our motherboard's fully installed, we're going to go ahead and install our power supply and go ahead and pre-run our cables to make it easier to install our GPU and our AIO cooler. With our power supply fully unboxed, let's go ahead and get this thing installed and wires ran. One thing I noticed when taking this apart to wire my system is these twist ties. I've seen a few videos from other content creators where they've ran into the issues where these twist ties have these little metal rods inside of them that could sometimes, if in the wrong position, fry your motherboard if that metal touches the metal soldered places on your motherboard. Seat that power supply up in its proper position. Go ahead and screw that bad boy in. Now that we got our power supply installed, we're going to go ahead and run all of our cables. That way we don't have any bulking components like our GPU and our AIO cooler preventing us from being able to run our cables nice and neat. As you can see, we have every cable ran in order to power the motherboard, the 4 fans that come with the case, the front panel ports, and the front display. Now that we got everything ready, we're going to go ahead and install our AIO into the top. Now that we got the AIO installed up top, we're going to go ahead and apply our thermal paste. We're going to do a classic X, and then we're going to go ahead and tighten on our AIO cooler. Here we go. Forget to remove that. Now that we got the AIO installed on the top, we can go ahead and run the cables that came with the AIO to give it some RGB to it. The last thing we're going to be unboxing tonight is the GPU to complete this build. Now that we got the GPU unwrapped and everything, we can go ahead and install it into the PCI 5 slot. Now that we got our GPU seated and screwed in, I already plugged in one 8-pin connector. Now we got to plug in the second. Now that we've got everything put together, we're going to go ahead and close up this case. That's the lid. Now again, this glass has a protective seal on it still, so this will look much clearer once you take off the wrap. But now it's time to test this bad boy. And boom, just like that, we got a post. Only thing is, tomorrow I'll be installing Windows 11. I'll be configuring the digital screen here for the statistics for the GPU and CPU. And yeah, and we'll update any drivers, BIOS, anything like that. But yeah, I consider this a successful build. All right now we're installing Windows 11 Pro. Looks like everything's going good so far. We used a bootable USB drive in order to install it from the BIOS. All right, this high performance gaming rig is now fully loaded, ready to go. I went ahead and updated anything that needed to be updated, such as the drivers, Windows 11, as well as installed 2 applications in the system. One being the AMD Adrenalin software, which allows us to keep our GPU drivers up to date, as well as the LConnect 3 app, which allows us to customize that front panel. Personally, I like monitoring my GPU and CPU temperatures, and there was a preset for that, but there's all sorts of customizable ones for you to be able to change this to whatever you want to monitor while you're putting this system under a heavy load. So lots of options to choose from, but I had a really good time building this setup, and I hope you enjoyed watching, and we'll see you next time for the next build.